I'm so mad right now. I'm so mad right now. They did that to my Lolen. I am so furious right now of the ending of this episode, episode 47. Oh, just, yes, her dancing, which was so beautiful, the haunting nature of what was going on, them just firing upon her, the cackling and the whole villain thing that's playing out. And I'm just like, you're not killing off Lolen. You are not going to kill off my girl. You do not do this. This is not how it's supposed to play out. She's supposed to be happy with Mao Mao. Like, you could have done something else. No, we had to just fire upon her and take her out. I don't think she's dead. Let me be perfectly clear. She is not dead. There was too many things that played out in this whole scenario that, yes, are extremely lucky. And that's kind of the more annoying thing about it, is how much luck is involved with this whole thing. But yeah, what was right there? There was a close-up of her chest. And what was right there where blood was not flying out of? The hairpin. Mao Mao gave her the hairpin from Jinshi, gave it to her, and it was right there. How that bullet hit that one little spot right there of that hairpin. I mean, the head part of the hairpin is technically big, so it's a wide area for it to hit. But again, this is like underneath that. Anyways, look into the details here. It hit that hairpin, no doubt. And then she plummeted, which would have been a long distance. But again, this avalanche produced a lot of snow there. There's a lot of piling snow there. It's a cushion for her to fall into. And then you have the guy come by there later on and see something sparkle. Yes, it could be him seeing her body, grabbing the hairpin, and then just running off. He knows her. He's going to take her and resuscitate her. He's going to help her get better. She's alive. And yes, what Jinshi said at the end there. He said, that was the last time I seen Lolen. Specifically Lolen. And you could basically draw from that, yeah, that's the last time you've seen Lolen, because Lolen, yeah, shouldn't be alive after that point. They have to kill her. She's a part of the She clan. And that's the sad thing about it. It's like, yes, I wanted to go to some route of like her transforming into the lady in waiting, and that's why she survives. She's not a part of the She clan. She's just a lady in waiting. She has no ties to them whatsoever. But there's a she part of it. She's still Shishui. And so they probably would still come after her. This is the idea of this person died here. I never seen her again. And he's not lying. In a narrative perspective, he's not lying. Because cut forward, he will see this person again, but it's not Lolen. He sees Shishui. So I know she's alive. There's no doubt in my mind, this girl is still alive. And that has me happy that at least there's like 3 things that add up that pretty much say, this girl ain't going nowhere. And I'm really, really happy about that. If my predictions are true, they could still kill her off and I'd be so freaking bad. But man, when she went out that door, I'm like, Jinshi, do something. Jinshi, do something. See the hairpin or something and go, oh, Mao Mao wants me to protect that. I have to do something with this. Take off the ornaments and everything and just let her be Shishui. She doesn't have to be Lolen. Again, those guys coming out there and just opening fire. I'm like, oh God, please stop. Stop it. Stop. Stop. I don't want to enjoy this beautiful dance. Stop it. Stop it. It was an incredibly beautiful scene. Like through and through, it was an incredibly beautiful scene. Just, again, the music playing and her just kind of going along with it. She became her father. Her father is the Tanuki that plays out this role, and she felt like she had to do the same thing. I have to be the villain in my mother's place because I have to draw the attention from my sister. This is a self-sacrifice for the people and for her sister. These people had no involvement. They've already died before, which that's the whole thing right there. We're going to get into in a minute. They've died before. They're not part of the She clan. They've already given it the name. They're of sound mind. Let them be. Me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm going to play the devil. Yes, here comes the guards. Jinshi knows the story, but the guards don't. And she knows that. She knows as those guards are flooding in there, they're not going to know that story. They're not going to understand like Jinshi does. She knows Jinshi understands it's not their fault. The guards will not know this. And so there's almost an element here where she's trying to give Jinshi an out because Jinshi's not going to be able to explain this to them and basically being a bad sign upon him and his leadership. She knows he has to fulfill this role. She knows what he has to do. So their guards are coming in. I have to play the part. Here's my stage. All these guards will see what I'm doing and I'm cackling and it's all my fault. Look, I harmed your leader. Come get me. Not them, get me. Oh, it's so sad. It's so tragic, my girl. This entire episode was just absolute peak Shisui. And that was the part that was making it so difficult to accept the ending was like, no, I don't want this girl to leave because, man, this is great. This is some great stuff, the stuff that she's doing right now. let's go into the episode proper and get all the other points, because there's just so much to kind of dive into with this episode. Opening up with Jinshi going in and facing off against Shisho. What hurts so much in the whole scene with Shisho is, yes, technically getting into that whole Tanuki act. The fact that what we got from the previous episode is him essentially accepting his role. This is what I have to do. This is my responsibility. This is something that I have to play out. Which, yes, gets even worse when we get into everything that, Lolen essentially reveals to Shinmei and reveals to Jinshi what exactly happened there. This idea that this guy was sort of a byproduct of everything bad that the one that he loved did. And so this was that. I like how at some point, it feels like they did a bit too much with the anime. It's a lot of symbolisms, obviously. The idea of him coming out there, firing off the thing, and acting out the script. As Jinshi says, it sounds like he's reading from a script. This is a stage play. This is what he does. This is him as the Tanuki coming out there, as, Lolen kind of puts later on, timid as he is, he comes out there, plays out the role, and accepts his fate. He knows he's dead. I think that's the sad, tragic reality of it. It's not like he can fight back against this. This is the army that cannot be played against. As Lolen puts it later to Shinmei, you couldn't go up against the Forbidden Army. You crazy. With all of your people that just whisper in your ear what you want to hear, they can't go up against the Forbidden Army. That's the case here. He knows he's dead. Play it out. Take responsibility and play it out. This is his role. I don't think he was responsible for the assassination attempt. He even was taken upon himself that. Yeah, I wish we had more time. Could have pulled that off. He wasn't really playing into anything specific. He was just kind of confirming it and accepting his fate. Raising his hands out. Cackling. Take it on. It was messed up. And again, it's kind of something sad for Jinshi himself, as it kind of puts later on him realizing this isn't all Shisho's fault. At some point, he realizes, yeah, the embezzlement and all that other kind of stuff, that's separate than the whole expansion of the rear palace. He wasn't as involved as it seems like he was from face value. This was all Shinmei. And again, doesn't absolve him, because again, he's still involved. He is still involved. In the end, the Shi clan has to go down. That is their mindset. That is their rulership mindset. You have to do this. Again, the sad reality of it, this is what Jinshi has to do. When he's standing in front of Lolen, she has to die. She is a part of this. If he doesn't do this, they will see it as weakness. They cannot let these people live. That's why her request is so difficult. The ones that discard the name, at least let them live. And yes, most people would see, even the one that discards the name, they still have to die, because we don't know who all was involved. It's that sad reality there. And again, him trying to at least accept all that stuff. Oh, dude, Shisho's story is so screwed up. This guy got pulled into the wrong family. Got pulled into the wrong family. But yes, in the end, not like I'm super invested in Shisho as a person, but it's still an extremely tragic story. But yes, them all kind of separating. I'm not sure why they let Jinshi go alone. This is one of those things where it allows for this whole scene to happen, but it is still one of those moments of like, why the hell did you let the prince go alone into some corridor or something like that? But yeah, Jinshi's poking his head inside that little chamber. Bang. Freaking Lolen out of nowhere being super cute. Yeah, just holding the gun on him. And this is interesting because it seems like Jinshi accepts that she has something to say. And even says it later on. Why wouldn't you take the gun from me? You could have easily taken it from me. Little old me, you could have easily grabbed that gun. Why wouldn't you grab the gun? You seem like you had something to say. You had something you had to tell me. I wanted to hear what you had to say. He was not jumping to the conclusion that everybody in there needed to die. He wanted to find out what was so important that she had to say. And yes, technically it's a good move because she rigged the gun. As we find out later on, she rigged the gun. I didn't think it was loaded. That's what I thought it was going to come down to that, where the mother gets a hold of it and she pulls the trigger and it doesn't go off. And it'd be that last moment where Shisho goes, oh, yeah, she never cared about me. She was going to kill me right here. I was just this tool. Again, they established that with Mamao's, conversation with Lolen, that she is just a doll. I am my mother's doll. That's all I am. I just smile when she has me smile. I get angry when she's angry. I just stand there and I do what she's told. That's all my purpose is. I'm not a daughter. That's the sad reality there. Ugh. Anyways, they find a little chamber where they have Shinmei and Sure, and yeah, immediately she's like, they didn't hurt you again, did they? Like the first thing she does when that goes in that room is like, she didn't touch you again, is she? Like, she is just on top of the mother. Like, no, she's not touching you no more. Just protecting her sister. But yes, that's when we start to get into Shinmei and really kind of revealing everything to her before she pretty much ends herself by her own actions. But yes, revealing the fact that everything that pretty much happened 30 years ago, all the stuff that happened around Shisho, Shinmei, the lady in waiting, all that stuff, the emperor himself, which I think the bigger shock here was that they did go the route of this was Shinmei's one. And I think that was sort of something that I came to a incorrect assumption on, was I thought that the two of them were in love. Like back here, the two of them were in love. And this was going to be some tragic thing where the emperor took her away from the one that she loved and pulled her into that rear palace, and she was stuck there until she finally got to leave. And then over here, boom, she comes home, and this person that came from the emperor, this spawn of Satan in her eyes, is now next to my husband. I thought she was going to be an innocent party that was just kind of corrupted by the emperor. But no, it seemed like she wanted this. Yeah, this is my chance. He's like, no, we could do something. We could do something. I love you, all that kind of stuff. No, I can't stay here and be the wife of a northern lord. She's disgusted by Shisho. And it's sad because later on it does seem like she kind of comes to a realization of how much he loved her and she accepts his love. But even there, it's something else that's pulling against her. But here she's just already nasty. She wants power. I could be empress. There's a chance that I could bear the child and I can become an empress. But I think the more interesting thing about this is sort of seeing how there's a side that Shinmei sort of faced the same difficulties that Lolen herself was sort of facing. Yes, Lolen being in that rear palace was, in the end, it was their plan. But there was a side of the whole thing about her being there and how important Shisho was, that there was a sense here that she was sort of a hostage. She was in there as a hostage, a political hostage on both sides. And the idea that the emperor, the current emperor, cannot touch her and would not want to touch her because he doesn't want to upset Shisho. But Shisho has her there as a political move. Both sides are basically using her as a puppet. Now again, later on we do find out that she's there for a reason on Shisho's side. But still, that was the symbolism there. This is the same case for Shinmei. She was a hostage. She was a hostage in order to essentially have that power and that control. And it all kind of builds into sort of this big shift in all the political powers and the idea that eventually trying to get rid of the slave trade. That was the interesting thing, actually getting into the whole slave trade thing and how they were abolishing it, and how this was sort of a political move in order to essentially save their lands. Shisho wanted to save their lands, save the Shi clan, save their area, because this was their moneymaker. This is where they made all their money, and now they're going to lose it because they're abolishing this. Well, let's feed into what the late emperor wanted. Let's feed into the current emperor. Let's feed into what he wants. He wants these young people. So let's tell them we'll just give them all these people. And that'll work for everybody. Everybody wins. They're treated much better than you would, in some other country, working crops or whatever. They're happy. She was equating it to like consorts and stuff like that, how they're treated so well. This will be so much better. Everybody's happy. The parents won't be as upset about the fact that their children are being sold off if they're going off somewhere good. That whole thing kind of comes up there, and that's interesting to sort of see that was the big pull that Shisho did. And that makes sense to, I think, what was it, Anshi's backstory? She was talking about how there was this big shift. There was a whole bunch of kids coming in here. Like, out of nowhere, they have all these young women and all these young boys, all these eunuchs. Everybody's been kind of flooding the river palace. It was expanding. I remember at some point they were mentioning the idea that Shisho pulled back a little bit at some point. I think that it was talking about how the mother of the late emperor was trying to bring in more children for the late emperor, and she mentioned specifically that Shisho kind of slapped it down. That could have been the idea that was the point in which he kind of shifted. He was against it, and then at some point he's seen a gain to it, and thus he started pushing that. I don't know. I wouldn't think so, because I think that this whole thing is what caused Shisho to have that power. So it probably was before then, and maybe he was kind of pulling it back a little bit. Either way, it gets into the idea that, yes, this was all a political move. He was trying to gain power. But again, he was also trying to buddy up with the emperor. He was trying to really buddy up there. That was all his own self-sacrifice. He did everything. Why? He wanted to get Shinmei out of there. And then it all culminates to the point where, yes, the emperor being upset about what happened with his daughter, he's like, take her out of here. Eventually has the kid, names it part of the Shi clan. That was enough. My need for this political chess piece is over. I don't need her as a hostage anymore. Yeah, take her. Shisho destroyed everything. He put in all this stuff into effect. He sacrificed his own status, everything, and kept the Shi clan alive. This clan was going to die without that trade. I mean, they could have had crops and whatnot as well, but this is a big part of what was sort of sustaining them. They were about to lose it all. So he saved the clan. He saved her family's clan. Again, he was pulled in from the outside. He saved her family's clan, and he was able to get her out of there as a hostage. All that. He even at some point went in there, made a secret passage which would get him killed in order to get her out of there. All for her. Ugh. And she didn't see any of it. She just seen this guy wants power. And again, there was times where I felt like that could have been the case, but in the end, it wasn't the case. He did not want power. He wanted her. That was all it was for. He just wanted her. And I hate the fact that even after explaining all that, she can't accept it. And that's the sad reality of Shinmei being cornered. She's at the end of her rope. Everything's over. It's all done. Here, she's being told something completely opposite to everything she destroyed for. I hate that rear palace. I hate the imperial family. I can't accept what you're giving me. I can't accept that this is all, I'm wrong. In the end, she can't accept that she's wrong. That's the sad reality. To the point where she is just absolutely denying everything she's saying there. No, did it for power. No, he did it for this. No, he did it for that. He even accepted this lady in here. Accepted the mother of this lady right here. Oh, well. Here you go. Hairpin. Does it look familiar to you? No, it can't be. Part of the imperial family. It connects the fact that, yes, this was something that was bestowed upon him by the emperor. She would not have this hairpin if it weren't for that connection. There's your proof. What else? It's like that was the whole thing of this whole segment that's like, this is the doll that has observed everything. And yes, a lot of it was because what Lolen says, she talked to her grandfather. He told me all this stuff. He laid out literally the history of all this stuff happening. He told me what my father wouldn't tell me. Everything that happened there. The grandfather knew everything that happened. And this is one of those moments where I almost want to speak for Lolen, because Shinmei says, you were against me the whole time. You're with him as well. You're saying all this stuff because you're with him. I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, no, turn to her and say, no, I just played the role as a doll. I'm the doll in the corner of the room that hears everything that's said in the room, and I do nothing. I'm not a part of any party. I'm just a doll on the counter. And I heard and seen everything, and now I'm just repeating it. The stuff that you don't want to hear. I'm a neutral party because I'm a doll, and you don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept it. In the end, it's all Shinmei. Yeah, even getting to the fact that Shisho was trying to undo everything they were messing up. Because he knew that she was doing this. They were embezzling all this money. They were taking all this money. They were funding her revenge. And all Shisho was really doing was just trying to make sure she doesn't get in trouble. That was his biggest problem, is that he was snuffing out all the rot to where she wouldn't get in trouble, getting rid of all the people that were screwing up, and yes, still being faithful to the country. He was getting rid of them all in order to protect the nation, but at the same time was covering up for her. That's the sad reality. That is sort of that conflict that it seemed like Shisho had. In the end, he loved his nation, but he also loved his wife. And his wife was screwing up things, building up power, doing whatever she wanted with the Shi clan, and he was just trying to keep things stable. Again, just this Tanuki is being pulled every single direction. It sucks. That whole segment sucks. But yeah, the fact that he went in there and was going to pull her out, she had that chance to flee. She had that chance to get out of it. But she couldn't get over the fact that people would mock her. In the end, it's all about her pride. No, what will they say? She was here before Anshi, and Anshi has a child. She even got outplayed by her attendant. Her lady-in-waiting outplayed her. All she could think about is that shame, which does suck to what Shisho does in the end. Shisho obviously knew that the late emperor was never going to touch her. She was just going to sit in there and rot. He knew that and wanted to get her out of there. But in the end, by taking her out of there, she lives that shame. And that shame of not being bedded by him then leads to her wanting to humiliate everybody else. That's what corrupted her mind, is that she had that shame from back here, and that she decides to aim that at everybody else because he pulled her out of there. All for her sake, because, again, he loved her. It was cool to find out that, yes, the late emperor, even after, sending her out, after Shisho got her out of there, again, bore the child, and then even showed the child to the late emperor, he came and visited. He actually acknowledged her as a grandchild. This is my grandchild. And even having the Shi name. he actually came to see her. That was actually really cool. But yeah, then they start talking about Shisho, him playing the role as a Tanuki, asking, did he play his role right? Again, I think right there, Jinshi's literally, he's feeling guilt. I think there's a moment there of Jinshi almost feeling a frustration with what happened. I guess guilt isn't really a term to use there, but he does feel that this is not really how things should have played out. And again, acknowledging the fact that he got played, that Shisho came out there, he accepted all the blame, he played the role of a Tanuki, this timid Tanuki that has to trick everybody, because he can't face people like that. But Shisho basically was taking all the blame. And I think Jinshi sees that as unjust, that he was killed in an unjust way, that there should have been something else here. Again, getting the idea of the embezzlement and the expansion, all that kind of stuff being separate. This stuff was not all Shisho. But anyways, that gets into Lolen doing one last jab at Mama. You think that you could take on the Forbidden Army with a bunch of people that tickle your ears? The mom takes the gun, goes to pull the trigger, makes one final jab at her. She pulls the trigger. That hurts. The fact that she pulled that trigger, that hurts. I'm so happy that that chamber was messed up, that she tampered with it to make it backfire. She deserves it. The mom straight up deserves having all that just blown right in her face. That's what she deserves. It's so infuriating. And it was interesting because, yes, in the end, it seems like Shisui, Lolen, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, I'm sorry. It seems like Lolen sort of wanted an out for her mother. She says after everything that Dad did, he literally took all this blame upon himself. He was doing everything for you. He waited for you. If only you just cried for his death. That's all you had to do. If she came in there and she was crying, Lolen probably wouldn't exposed all this stuff. There's a chance she could have chosen to fire upon Jinshi. There's a chance. Because again, I just wanted Mom to be sad for Dad. I wanted to see a heart in there. Something for me to accept that there's still something in you. She was wanting to give Mom one more chance. It sucks. It sucks. How many times have I said it sucks so far this episode? Impressions. Anyways, that comes down to the two requests. Very, very interesting. The initial request is to spare those of the Shi clan that no longer bear the name. That there's many that did not choose to follow Mother, and they were exiled. They were kicked out of the Shi clan, and they had their name removed. And she points to her sister. She's one of them. Technically true. She was stripped of her name, Shisui, and she was given the name Kusuriya. She was already exiled, technically. So please, spare my sister and spare the others. Now, here's the key thing. They've already died once. I like the terminology here, and I had to check two different translations for this. The terminology here is specific. They have already died once. She's speaking of those that were exiled, had their name removed. They died once. Those that have already died, please spare them. Those kids are alive. No, no doubt in my mind, those kids are alive. That's what's going to happen. And then you have Mama over here literally sleeping in the tent or the chamber they have the bodies. They're going to be alive. No doubt in my mind, they're going to be alive. I kind of wonder if Mao was trying that stuff because she had something on her neck, which I don't think that it could have been a burn, but I think she might be trying the medicine or trying something of it to see how it works. Anyways, that aside, the ones that are already dead, spare them. Again, no doubt in my mind, this is the kids. This has to be the kids. And in effect, it will be Shisui as well. Because, again, she's probably going to pop up at some point after being taken care of by this guy. She's going to pop up at some point, probably be brought in through a slave trade or something like that, and get it into the rear palace, and then find Mao. I'll be super happy. And I think Jinshi's going to see her and see, who is this new lady? He's totally going to let it go. Anyways, then the next part is the scar. My second request is that she grabs the claw and marks his face. I like how later on he points out, I knew what she was going to do. I knew she was going to scar my face, and I still let her have that last request. And this was the last thing that Shisui wanted to do for her mother, which I think is, in my opinion, kind of shocking. In the end, after everything, it does show a little bit there that Lolen did love her mother. In the end, she's still my mother. There was still this element that she wanted her mother to have one win. This person that you hate so much because they look like somebody that beat you. That's really what it is. See, this person, you hate them so much. They said that when they first came in. This person that you hate so much, I brought them. You don't like them because they look like one of those young kids that beat you to the bedroom. Right here. And right now, I'm going to scar that face. scar it so it's not as beautiful anymore. I'm very curious if they will actually keep that scar, because typically they have like two different routes. Like one is like, yes, they stitch it up and everything so well that you never see it again. Or if it will be a scar that he will always hold in his face as sort of, again, a sign of what the Shi clan did. And again, a reminder possibly about the Shi clan. He could possibly keep it. We'll see. I don't know if we'll have him lose his beautiful face or whatever. It will end up being a sign that people will see of, like, if they ever see Jinshi the eunuch again, if he does, I don't think he's going to, if he does decide to go back to that persona, it will be a thing that people recognize. So I don't think they can do that unless they do like a lot of makeup. But anyways, yes, that's when Lolen acts out the role of the greatest villain ever. Goes out that door, cackles, laughs, all the guards come rushing in. Jinshi has a brief moment where he kind of wishes that he could have stopped them, but he knew that he couldn't stop it. It was both so beautiful, and this was the act that she wanted to play out. He didn't want to stop her stage performance. This was the act that she wanted to play. This doll of a girl goes out there and plays her role. Just like Father. I will play the role of villain. I will cackle and everything, all that kind of stuff. Again, beautiful dance routine, all that stuff, the music playing. Gosh, I'm frustrated. I was so mad. I was so furious. My gosh. I'm like typing to people in DMs going, just, I couldn't think of something. I wanted to hit my keyboard in a spoiler tag, obviously. Yeah, one person opened a spoiler and said, I've seen it, but I have no clue what it means, and I didn't mean to click on it. I'm like, well, I'm glad I just spam buttons. I was frustrated. I was really mad. And it's crazy because what set them off, Boston's seen the scar on Jinshi's face, and that's what triggered him. He didn't need to answer. He just seen this cut on his face, seen that she has this on her hand, knew that's the person that did it. You harmed the face of the prince. Kill. Like, no questions asked. There was no questions asked. That's the sucky part. And yes, technically does make a lot of sense to later on. He chose to allow her to do it despite the fact that he knew his subordinates would be punished for it. Sure enough, they are heavily punished for this. They allowed him to be scarred. And that was like my whole argument back there. Why did you guys let him go on his own? There's a side of me that almost believes that as a subordinate, they should be punished. They should have never let him go to begin with. The fact that they let him go on his own is punishment right there alone. They should have been at his side the entire time. They're behind enemy lines. Anyways, but yeah, it cuts over to Jinshi. He is wiped out, hasn't slept in a long time, asks where Mao Mao is, and yes, she's in the tent along with all the children. All the dead children. Again, I think based on her statement there, those that have already died, I think that's confirmation right there that she did in fact give them the poison, resurrection poison, and possibly Mao Mao is working on a way to bring them back. I think at this point, I think Mao Mao knows. I'm curious if she's currently trying to figure that out. I would assume so. Again, that was something that she was kind of reading. She's read Shurei's notes. She knows. So I'm assuming that she's going to bring him back. But my gosh, what an episode. We still got, what, two more episodes or one more episode? I think we should have one more episode. Yeah, one more episode. Finale next week. I am heartbroken. I'm absolutely heartbroken. I don't want this to end. But what an incredible season. I almost, without all those like caveats, I would have been like, oh my gosh, suddenly out of nowhere, this season becomes like a 0 out of 10 because they killed off my girl and I did not want this to happen. But I think the writer chose an interesting way of getting her out there. Again, technically having her die. The idea that Lolen died that day, everybody believes it, and that she just somehow snuck out. This guy is going to find her, resuscitate her, get her back together. The question is going to be how she gets in the Rip House again. She knows the routes. If they never really kind of close up those routes after Mao Mao being kidnapped, she could still use those same routes. But we'll see. But that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and want to watch more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. But until next time, y'all take care.